Signor Segretario di Stato, nella giornata di oggi il WTO ha preso la decisione sull'imposizione di tariffe all'Europa. Questo significa che ci dobbiamo aspettare dazi americani sui beni italiani? E come questo scenario può essere evitato?
So I've seen the results of the decision today. They're consistent with what we'd anticipated. We'd believed all along that the WTO would rule in this way. We'll now work through what the appropriate response is. We'll certainly talk to the EU. And we'll get to the right outcome. As I've said before, we'll do our best to accommodate each country, but this was definitely an unfair trading relationship. Now the WTO has ruled to that effect, and I'm very hopeful that we can get an outcome that works for everyone, that's consistent with making sure that every American business is treated fairly.
A parte i dazi, quali sono i temi centrali che ha discusso durante questa sua visita riguardo all'agenda bilaterale?
Talked about a lot of things. I've had the chance now to meet with my foreign ministry counterpart as well as the Prime Minister and the President. We're looking forward to President Mattarellas' visit to Washington in a couple of weeks now. We talked about the fact that you host U.S. forces and do a magnificent job of taking care of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. We talked about the challenges all across the world. Spent a lot of time talking about Venezuela and the nasty humanitarian crisis that exists there. We talked about China and the opportunity that China presents to each of our two countries and the risks that it presents to each of our two countries in the world as well. There were a whole range of issues. We spent a great deal of time too thinking about terrorism coming out of Libya and what's the right approach. How can Italy, the United States, and frankly all of those countries that are involved in Libya create the conditions where violence can be reduced and a political resolution, which will be how this ultimately ends, can be achieved as quickly and as rapidly as possible.
Signor Segretario di Stato, parliamo della Cina. La tecnologia cinese del 5G è una minaccia per l'Alleanza Atlantica e qual è il ruolo che può giocare l'Italia per fronteggiarla?
So I don't think it puts the alliance at risk. I think that's overblown. We think about Chinese technology this way. Every piece of information that travels across a network is at risk. If that network is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, that creates its own unique kinds of risks. And we've seen this. We've seen military-civil cooperation inside of China. We've seen the connectivity between Chinese state-owned enterprises and their government. And what we're asking each country to do, Italy included, is to make their own sovereign decision about the right approach, but do so with eyes wide open about the potential risks of an ordinary Italian's citizens' data being transmitted across the network that was accessible by the Chinese Communist Party. I hearken back to my days as a Cold Warrior. I don't think any of us would have wanted our information trafficking across a Soviet network. Right? We want to make sure that we know that these networks, that information passes through, are trusted. And if we can do that, and I'm confident that we can do this together, we'll be very successful. I'm not worried about the alliance between our two nations being broken by this threat.
Parlando di guerra fredda, lei ritiene che la Russia stia combattendo una nuova guerra fredda contro l'Occidente e che l'Italia sia una di queste frontiere?
We've been very clear about our view. We hope there's real opportunity. We hope Russia will begin to open up and begin to do the right things. We try to have conversations and dialogue with them. We think that's entirely appropriate. Our president's made that very clear as well. But we've also been clear. When Russia engages in behavior that is violates international law or is appropriate, we'll hold them accountable for that as well.
Lei ritiene possibile, sulla base delle informazioni che voi possedete, che ci siano delle interferenze russe nella vita pubblica italiana?
Almost certainly. There's risk, but I wouldn't limit it to Russia. There are many countries who are engaged in activities that deign to get inside of domestic politics inside of countries. We all need to be eyes wide open. We need to do intelligence sharing between our countries. If we get all of those things right, I'm very confident. I'm confident that our countries can protect our values and our democracies and protect our elections as well.
La compagnia aerea di Pasdaran, Mahan Airlines, gestisce 2 voli che da Teheran raggiungono Roma e Milano. Questo significa che l'Italia rischia di incorrere nelle sanzioni del governo degli Stati Uniti?
Well, we hope the Italian government will make the decision to discontinue those. We don't get out in front of decisions about our sanctions. but America has made very clear that Mahan Airlines is engaged in activity where it's supporting the IRGC. And we hope that the Italian government will take a look at that, make sure that we have our data and facts right, validate for themselves that they're comfortable that this information is true, and then make the right decision. I don't think there's an Italian leader that wants to support the kind of mayhem and terror that Iran brings to the world. And to the extent we can demonstrate that Mahan Airlines is part of that, I'm very confident that the Italian government will make a good decision.
Parliamo di Libia. Stiamo seguendo questa drammatica guerra da molto tempo e sta diventando più complicata a seguito del coinvolgimento diretto di stati sunniti a favore delle due parti in lotta. C'è una via d'uscita da questa dinamica di guerra in Libia?
So it is complicated. And I think the first step is to get all of those who are on the outside providing arms and weapon systems and munitions and capability to anyone on the ground, that they stop. That we reduce the flow of the tools of violence into the region there in Libya. I think that's in the best interest of all the neighboring states, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, and certainly for the people of Libya. And once we do that, once we achieve getting these outside groups to cease providing support, which translated frankly is hope, right? That support creates hope for leaders saying, I think I can win this thing militarily. I think the world has come to recognize, indeed, most all of those countries recognize that there will be a political solution in Libya. It's what we need to get to. We need to get there as quickly as possible.
Segretario di Stato, l'ultima domanda è sulla sua eredità italiana. Che ruolo ha nel suo lavoro, come affronta la sua missione quotidiana al servizio degli Stati Uniti?
You know, I've always been very proud of my Italian heritage. It's something that my father and I talk about often. He loves talking about his grandpa and his great-grandfather who were from this country. And I'm going to get this really neat opportunity to spend a few hours in Pocentro tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it.